Good morning, folks. All right, we got a few names to talk about today. First, I want to review yesterday. Hopefully, we'll get into the habit of doing that. Yesterday, the three stocks I focused on were LILM, AIR, and RIBT. So let's just see how that went. LILM, by the way, was the pick with the new CEO, and I mentioned it could take up to 2 days. Sometimes you get a delayed reaction on the news. I did not want to hold it overnight, though. The volume was pretty good yesterday on that news, and today we see a little bit of gap up. I couldn't find why it's gapping up this morning. Perhaps there's some new analyst coverage or something that's yet to come out, but this is something I'll actually continue watching today and may decide to tiptoe in at support levels for a trade. But because I don't have long term conviction in this name, it's not something I was willing to hold overnight. Air worked out well. So out of the three picks, Air did the best. Air had a strong move. I don't know, it was about 5% or so, maybe 6%, something like that. Right to that 50 DMA. It peaked above it. It closed right on it. I think this is poised to continue as long as markets continue. Let's see, the Nasdaq's up 0.4%, right? So hopefully Air can be a swing here. I did hold all the additional shares I bought early in the morning. I've been buying Air for the last couple of weeks, actually. So in my IRA. So this looks good. So that trade worked out. Ribbit was a little bit volatile. In the morning, it looked great, right? Ran to like 77, 78. I did take some off the table at 77, but I continued to take some off the table as it dropped, even as low as 70. And I still have a big position, but I had a huge position. So I wanted to take some profits off the table and reduce a little bit of risk because of overall sentiment in the agriculture space has been weak. And this is why we missed this yesterday. Someone in the rooms notified us to the news, but take a look at wheat. Wheat has just died, right? And a lot of the agriculture stocks have died with it. Just one quick example is let's take a look at a fertilizer stock, right? There you go. Fertilizer stock died. Let's look at Archer Daniels. Archer Daniels died, right? So why did this whole sector go down? Including corn, by the way, corn, wheat, everything. It's because on Monday what are we now? It's Thursday. A couple days ago, Putin came out and he said he may allow unfettered exports of grains coming out of Ukraine, and that's why this whole sector got a sentiment hit. So because of that, I did reduce my position in Ribbit, although I'm still holding it. Okay, so those are the three stocks we talked about yesterday. Speaking of sectors, there's other news that we missed. I was trying to figure out why LTHM and LAC lithium stocks were down, and it did not come up in my news feeds at all. But someone had pointed out in the rooms that Goldman Sachs became negative on the sector, just saying it's overvalued, the lithium stock. So for me, this is a long-term play. I have lithium stocks and I have uranium stocks as my play on energy rather than playing like oil directly. The high energy prices, right, is good for EV and lithium batteries, and it's good for uranium. So I think pullbacks are an opportunity if this is long term for you, and for me it is. So I may be looking at adding some exposure to a stock like LTHM in my IRA on these pullbacks. So I wanted to point that out. And the other thing, just some volatility in USO this morning because Saudi was expected to increase output. OPEC did come out and say they were going to increase output. And when they came out with that, so the expectation, it was sell on the news and then buy on the event here. I don't know why. Maybe the reduction was less than what the market expected. The increase in output was less than market expected. So I'm not sure what's going on there. I don't watch oil closely, but something you might want to keep an eye on. A bunch of economic news came out this morning with jobs reports and I think there was a revised GDP number in there. Lots of information coming out so far in pre-market. The Nasdaq doesn't like it. I think I mentioned yesterday, I don't know, we're in between two DMAs. The easy call was down here, but do we consolidate and test the 20 DMA or do we move up to the 50? That's the question. No one knows the answer right now. All right, that's Q, that's SPY, that's ARK. All right, great. Now, on to some individual stocks for today that I want to touch on are going to be XELB, SPTN, and RWLK. Those three. We'll get to them in a second. But I do want to give a shout out and a mention to the monkeypox stocks because I have been trading these. I haven't been that vocal about it in the rooms because it's moves very fast, right? It's highly risky. It's moving on catalysts, things like that. But this one I've noticed if you catch the catalyst early, there's a headline. If a headline comes out on new cases in New York the other day, and now this morning there's new cases in UK, like throughout the day, if there's a coincidence that happens between the stock being at a low, at a support level, and a catalyst comes out about new cases, oh, that's a trade. I'm not holding these overnight. I'm like day trading SIGA and stuff. So I've actually had a couple good successful trades in SIGA doing just that. So I didn't hold it overnight. I'll be watching this though, okay, for potential additional entries and exits based on catalysts and technicals. So that's SIGA, and then GOVX is another monkeypox play that was brought to my attention yesterday that I'm looking at as well, though I think SIGA is the superior play there. Now to the 3 picks of the day to really focus on. XELB, very interesting, brought to our attention by someone in the room. You can see this huge move from $1 to $2. Now it's at $1.50. And that's because if you look at the news feed here, they did a deal where they sold a 70% interest in the fashion brand Isaac Mizrahi for $46 million. And the market cap's $29 million. And I know they have some debt. So I don't know all the details here, but people who've looked at this in our community say this looks really cheap. So another one I'll be watching. I tried a day trade on this yesterday. Didn't work out. Lost like 3 cents a share. Didn't have the best entry and exit. But this is something I may be looking at again because it seems to be very thin. And that news looks like it could be a very appealing to traders. And who knows, can we get a move to 180 again? Something like that, possibly. We'll continue. I'm trying to get a collaborative research effort going on in XELB to see if this is something that could be a swing position or a investment even. So we're increasing the collaboration on XELB in the room so we can find that out. In my feed, I've had SPTN in my watch list, and I noticed they did a beat and raise. They raised their guidance for the year by 7 cents on EPS, which should equate to about $1, at minimum of like $1, $10.15 increase in price. Now, look, yesterday it was down because this is a food stock. And again, I said all the agriculture stocks have gone down because of Putin's comment and impact on wheat and corn. So it's a little difficult here because you have the fundamentals increasing EPS by 7 cents this year and bullish guidance for the next several years, by the way. But then you have the sentiment down here. So it's a little bit hard. My instinct in the morning was, hey, this will be great for a trade or for maybe even an investment, but it's going to be hard to quantify what impact sentiment will have in terms of wheat. That's just the reality. You got to monitor the geopolitical news and wheat prices and corn prices because that'll impact even fundamentally sound agriculture companies. It'll impact the PE ratio, right? But this is a stock that looks very profitable. It's like a 16 PE or something like that. 16 PE with the earnings growing. It may even drop here on this report now. So SPTN, something to look into. Maybe it's like a stock for an IRA or something like that. But you gotta wonder how long can this sustain, because you can see the move here since the war. Actually, it started a couple days before the war, so they're probably fundamentally sound company before then. But they moved from 28 now to 35 post war. If we take a look at what they do, food solutions company, which delivers the ingredients. The company serves customer locations in all 50 states, has 3 segments. Food distribution, uses a multi-channel sales approach to distribute grocery products. Okay, retail segment. So actually, I'm not so sure. This is not as a direct play on high grain prices as something like ANDE is that we talked about, or something like the potash and Archer Daniels. Maybe this is just moving on fundamentals, and it could be something you want to pick up in your IRA, possibly SPTN, and it could be a trade for the day too. Okay. Last one, and probably my most, the one I'm most excited about, the move I made so far today. Rewalk, I picked this up at 0.997, just below $1. This is a company that's been collaborated on in our community in the past, and we interviewed the CEO. Look at this. It trades now after the 8% move at $1.02, but the enterprise value, I'm sorry, the cash on their, their enterprise value is $1.30. Well, they have $1.30 cash excluding debt, right? You take the cash minus the debt, it's $1.30. And this thing has been perpetually trading at a negative enterprise value, right? Right now at $1.02. So I don't have any expectation that all of a sudden we're going to trade at, a par at 130 or above. Okay. First of all, there's a discount because they're losing money and people expect them to continue losing money for a while. As a medical device company, they do exoskeletons, right? They're waiting for some big approvals by different federal agencies around the world to really kick up their sales of the exoskeletons, right? But they have like a massive amount of cash, like 82 million cash, no debt, with a 59 million market cap. They came out this morning and said they're authorizing an $8 million share buyback, right? It won't go into effect immediately. It requires some approval by court for some reason. I don't know what's behind that. This is an Israeli company. I don't know if Israel has a different process for share buybacks. But in any case, you can see it's already up on the news here. And I don't know the sentiment behind I don't fully know the sentiment behind the low EV. Is it, because a lot of companies are losing money. They don't trade at negative EVs. Why does this one, trade at a negative EV? I'm not sure. Could it be that people are, hey, they have so much cash and they don't know how to use it properly? I don't know. Is there shareholder pressure to do a buyback? That's the best use of funds? Maybe, right? So could this be the news that bears were waiting for? To debunk their thesis, or was it the news that bulls were waiting for to buy more? Possibly, but regardless of all of that, I think just the headline combined with the fact that it's a negative EV is enough for the stock to go up today, and you can see it already is up. So let's look at the support and resistance levels here. 105 is the first resistance level at the 50 DMA, and it kind of hit that and pulled back, right? So it did respect that 50 DMA in pre-market, right? I could have sold. I didn't, for a 5% profit. Possibly that's all we get out of it today, right? But I'm more interested in trying to sell here if we get it, like in I would say the 110 right there. You see the 110 to 120 range is the area I'd be interested in selling in. I don't think we're getting to 132, right? Where their cash value is. So I'm definitely a seller in the 1-teens. From this area to like 110, right? Right where that resistance is. I'm not sure what I'm going to do. I may trade a little bit around the core, in the 105 to 110 area, and I'm a buyer below 1. All right. So that's how I'm looking at this today. I think there's potentially a lot of money to be made on this today if you get your trade locations right. Right. You buy low, sell high, obviously. I think there could be a lot of volatility in this name definitely in between the 20 and the 50 DMA. And if we're lucky and if a lot of volume comes in, maybe from the 50 DMA onwards to, the high teens possibly. But this is the neighborhood right now that we're playing in between the 20 and the 50. So buyer under 1, possibly a little bit of a seller at 105 to 110, but definitely a big seller between 110 and 120. So that's what I'm looking at. RWLK looks like a very interesting catalyst for a trade today. And SMSI didn't break out yet. We're watching that. And I just saw Apple was down, taking the Qs down, and USO is down. So who knows what's going to happen today. Markets are really, really crazy. Up, down, up, down. You cannot figure it out. The morning has no correlation with the afternoon most days. So that crazy, crazy times. We're trying our best to do some stock picking. And that's all we got for you. So just to recap, my main things I'm going to be watching today is going to be the monkeypox stocks, SIGA, GOVX. Maybe I'll get another trade in there. XELB, I want to learn more. I'll possibly try to get into a position in there around 150 or lower. SPTN, I don't know that personally I'm going to get into this, but this is something that looks solid for like an IRA. But the trade focus is really going to be RWLK for me, RWLK more than anything else. So thank you guys for joining, and we'll continue collaborating in the rooms. Have a great day. Thank you.